So on the day this is uploaded, which might also be the day you're watching this, it is Saturday, June 8th, 2024, and I am 30 years old. But as of recording, I'm still 29, baby, because it's only Wednesday. So we're a few days out. I wanted to make a sentimental little video about me turning 30. I like to pretend that I'm not an extremely sentimental and nostalgic person. I am. And I think that I just, I'm making peace with that. And so I wanted to talk about my feelings around turning 30, because there's a lot of them. I know that it's not going to be some wild fundamental change. I know that I'm not suddenly going to wake up on Saturday feeling radically different. But as me and my best friends like to say to each other on our birthdays, I'll never be 29 again. We'll say like, you'll never be, it started on my best friend Audley's 18th birthday. Yeah, it was on his 18th birthday, and my friend Brooke was like, you'll never be 17 again. And now every year on our birthdays, we just say you'll never be the age that you are now, ever again. Which is both freeing and terrifying simultaneously. But I suppose that's just kind of the nature of aging. The prospect of turning 30 hasn't made me feel a lot of the things that I was expecting to feel. I don't feel old. I only feel old when I go on TikTok, but I've been feeling old on TikTok since I was 26. I don't feel old. I still feel like very young. I still feel like I have, my whole life ahead of me, because I do. And I don't have as many hang-ups about my looks as I was expecting, frankly. They are happening. I wish that they weren't. I wish that I wasn't suddenly hyper aware of my laugh lines, or the fact that my dark circles are getting darker, or the fact that my body no longer looks the way that it did when I was 21, because of course it doesn't. And I wish that these things didn't bother me as much as they did, but I'm trying to extend compassion to the part of me that is bothered by it and be like, hey, you're allowed to have these feelings. It's okay. The big thing about turning 30 is just I've become so hyper aware of the passage of time. I have spent a lot of the last year, it kind of started shortly after my 29th birthday, weirdly enough, but I feel like I've spent so much of the last year in this very strange, melancholic headspace, because I'm just so aware of the ceaseless march of time, which feels like a dramatic way to put it, but that's how it feels. It's this sense that I'm watching my parents get older. I'm watching my cats get older. I'm realizing how far away I am from my friends and my family, while simultaneously being so glad that I live where I live. I have this one Spotify playlist called Sad-ish Millennial Jams, and it's just filled with songs that I remember loving when I was in that I remember loving, and I remember my parents listening to a lot when I was a kid, when I was in middle school. And it's just you've got Breathless by the Cores on there. That was a new one that I just added. It's All Coming Back to Me Now by Celine Dion, Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. Just a lot of bangers. But I've been listening to that playlist a lot lately, and just awash. And I've just been awash with just a very strange sadness that is so hard to describe. It's almost like a preemptive grief, I suppose. And I think that I've spent so much of this year processing that feeling that I think I'm okay with it now. But when Lizzie McAlpine dropped her song Older, I listened to that on repeat for days and just wept. For those of you that have not listened to the song, it is beautiful. And there's a line in the second verse that says, over and over, watch it all pass. Mom's getting older. I'm wanting it back where no one is dying and no one is hurt. And I have been good to you instead of making it worse. And it's just this overwhelming feeling of wanting it back. Just wishing that I could talk to my 16-year-old self. I wish that I could talk to her and tell her that I know the world feels impossible right now, but give it a decade. Give it a decade and some change, and your life is going to be cooler than you ever could have imagined. I wrote this in a Patreon blog post a little while back, or I think I may have I said this in a video as well. I said this in a recent-ish video, but it's the feeling of like looking over my shoulder and seeing every single version of myself just like staring back at me, wide-eyed and terrified and with this sort of unspoken question in their eyes. And I don't have an answer for them. And all I can do is shrug and offer them a cup of tea and tell them that we keep on living. And it's very good. The biggest thing I think about my 20s that I've learned is, or the biggest thing that's happened to me, I think, is that somewhere along the way, kind of by accident, I have come to really, truly, genuinely love myself. Hi, Pepper. Hi, baby. I used to be so cruel to myself. I used to be absolutely just horrific. My inner monologue, the way that I would talk to myself was so vitriolic and like just filled with so much anger. And like, I remember one time I was working on this like theater project late at night in like the rehearsal hall back in college. We had this like big self-devised piece that we had to do my junior year. And I remember being in the rehearsal hall at like 2 a.m. alone working on this thing. And I remember just like breaking down and screaming at myself in the mirror. It felt like I'd been possessed by something. I remember just screaming at myself in the mirror and just like saying how much I loathed myself and what a piece of shit I was and how stupid and good for nothing and all of these things. I was absolutely horrific to myself. And that definitely carried on into Pepper, I swear to God. And that carried on into my 20s. And I mean, you can look back at my videos that I made when I first moved to Seattle back in 2017, 2018, and they're so sad. I'm so sad. I feel it's so clear how like I watch those videos back and I'm just so hopeless and I'm so tired. And hi, Pepper. Hi, baby. You can't see, I don't think you can see her in frame right now, but she's, you are so needy all the time. Why are you always like this exactly when I film, huh? Baby. I know. I love you. Yes, I do. Hi, my love. Cats are the best. But I watch my videos back from when I watch my own videos sometimes, but I watch my videos back from when I was like, I was 23 when I moved to Seattle, turned 24 that summer, right? No. I turned 23 the summer I moved to Seattle. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God. So I turned 23 the summer I moved to Seattle, and I watched those videos back, and I was just so, God. Oh. I also know a huge part of it was because I still didn't know that I had ADHD. I didn't know that I was neurodivergent. And so I just felt like there was something fundamentally wrong with me that I couldn't figure out. And I will say that figuring out and then I guess like getting medicated for ADHD was a huge part in my like learning to love myself, because suddenly I had context for and understood why I was why I am the way that I am. And there isn't something broken or fundamentally wrong with me. I simply experience the world differently than other people, and that's not a bad thing. This is all to say that the way that I came to this like understanding of this like kind of really deep foundational sense of, there's a lot of cars out, sense of like self-love and self-compassion is that I got into therapy in 2018 because I had a therapist when I was in college in Austin. And then moving to Seattle, I knew that I needed to get another therapist, but I put it off because finding a therapist sucks and it's so hard and it's such an excruciating process. But I found an incredible therapist back in 2018, and I started doing this work with her, and then I continued it with like the two therapists that I had after her. We kind of touched a little bit upon like inner child work. And for those of you that are unfamiliar with the idea, it's a way to learn self-compassion by, like, if I'm going to simplify it down to its essence, it's basically like talk to yourself the way that you would talk to 5-year-old you. And so I would go on these like really intense spirals of like self-loathing and anxiety and despair. And I would imagine saying all of these things to like 6-year-old Cheyenne, and I would immediately shut up because I was like, she doesn't need that. She's already so confused and overwhelmed all the time. She cries constantly. I cried all the time when I was a kid, all the time, every single day. Anytime that like anyone ever expressed any modicum of like dissatisfaction with me, I would just cry. If I got angry or embarrassed or anything, I simply cried. And looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, because that's rejection sensitivity dysphoria. Oh man. So it's just like, she doesn't need that. And then another therapist that I had was like, I'm a big fan of inner child work, but I invite you that instead of thinking of like 5 or 6-year-old Cheyenne, she's like, I invite you to think of a 14-year-old Cheyenne. And that really fucked me up. Because I was like, I was so depressed when I was in high school. So depressed. I was depressed when I was in college too. So I think of 14-year-old Cheyenne, who was just like, I was a freshman in high school. I was constantly fucking bullied. I still didn't have a handle on my like crying in school thing. I felt so weird and lonely, and I would think about saying the things that I would say to myself when I was like 25, and I would think about saying those to 14-year-old me, and I would be like, oh, okay, all right, never mind. So I developed this reflex. It wasn't like full-blown affirmations. It was like diet affirmations. But basically what I did is that every time I would say something really cruel to myself, I would reflexively say, I love you. And I would kind of have this little like, sometimes like an out loud dialogue with myself where I would be like, God, you're so stupid. You're such a fucking piece of shit. Fuck you. And then I'd be like, I love you. And then I'd be like, no, you don't. And I'd be like, yes, I do. No, you don't. Yes, I do. I'd be like, I love you. And I'd be like, I love you too. And I didn't believe it for a very long time. I didn't like actually love myself. I said it as like a formality and as a reflex. It became truly like a reflex. Like even if I was going just like on an internal spiral, I would like put my hand to my chest and I would just be like, I love you. I love you. I love you. And I was a little annoyed by it at first. But then it just kind of became true. I didn't have any ceremony around these affirmations. I didn't have any kind of like ritual around them. I made it as like casual and like a knee-jerk reaction as I could, because that was how I was able to keep it consistent. And so I just started saying I love you to myself, even when I didn't believe it. And then over time, I believed it. And now I feel like I still have so much shit I need to work on. Like, I do love myself, and it's so beautiful to have this like incredible foundation to move into this new decade of my life with. But like, I'm still awash with insecurities and all of these other things. And now, instead of coming at these things about myself that I maybe want to change or better, instead of coming at them from an angle of, you're such a piece of shit, you're so stupid, we have to get our shit together, fix it. Which, surprise, is not a useful way to talk to yourself. Fancy that. Now, instead, I'm able to come from this place of compassion, where I'm able to be like, hey, I love you and I want better for you. And so that's why I want to work on this, which is way more productive and fruitful and doesn't leave me feeling like a minuscule and doesn't leave me feeling absolutely horrid at the end of the day. And I think I'm very excited, and I'm really grateful that that's something that I get to take into my 30s, because I feel like I have this foundation that I've been able to build over like my late 20s. And so the things that I do want to do feel possible. And also, now I'm on Adderall, which also helps. I just upped my dosage, actually. I went from 20 to 25 milligrams of Adderall XR, and it's great. I feel capable. Suddenly the world is like, it's not quite so exhausting to just like try to live. I also have been like trying to journal more, because now I've started thinking of journaling as like almost like an anthropological effort of some kind, like a personal anthropological one, where I'm like, I am recording this data for me to look back on in however many years. And also maybe when I die, this will be something left behind that people, however many years from now, can also read and look upon and understand, like get a glimpse of the life I lived. And so I've started writing I've started writing journal entries like I'm in like the early 1900s, where it's like, it was cloudy today. I went on a walk to so-and-so's house. It was really lovely. We spent a lot of time in the garden. I'm keeping it very matter of fact, which just makes it, again, easier for me to keep up with. As you can see, my apartment looks really different now because I've moved into the studio. I'm so happy with this whole little entryway setup that I've done. My mantle looks really pretty. I'm really happy with how I've done it. It's nice I'm very grateful to my mom for helping me sort all this out. And it's just nice for my apartment to feel like just an apartment and not also a warehouse. It took a little bit of getting used to, but it feels good now. I feel good. I think that, like I said, I still have a lot of insecurities. I still have a lot of things that I want to, need to, will, whatever, work on. But I love me. And I think I'm great. I forget it sometimes, but I really do. And I'm grateful to have that. I'm grateful to have this again. I'm excited to move into the next decade of my life, which is not something that I ever thought I would say. but I am. And how grateful I am for this little life. Oy. Huh, Pepper? Now you've settled down? Huh, baby? She's asleep in the crease of the couch, in between the couch cushions. Hi, baby. Yes, ma'am. I know. Do you want to say something? No, don't bite it. I have D&D with my besties here in like an hour and a half, so I'm gonna go do that. How grateful I am to play make-believe with my friends. Never thought I'd play D&D. Never thought I'd play D&D. Look at me now. Huh, Pepper? I'm gonna go play pretend, and thanks for watching this little, very sentimental video. It's for me more than anything. It felt important that I make something. So this is that something. Thanks for watching. I love you. And I think you're grand. And I hope that you think that too. And if you don't, I hope you do one day. All in due time. We'll talk soon. Bye. And happy birthday to me. Are you chasing your own? She's chasing her own tail now. Weirdo. Oh, man. Oh. The other thing about aging is that, wow, my body creaks a lot more, huh? Wait, if I come on this side. Bye.